Welcome, everyone, to the Pennsylvania High School Football Report podcast. I'm Brian Linder. I'm here with Eric Epler. Eric, how's it going, my man?
It's going.
Hey, Dan Sostek.
Howdy.
So now you guys know what they sound like as we move forward into the podcast. Long-time listeners, you already know. Guys, we're here. We're on the eve. I think the big news, Dan, tomorrow we have a new collab from Jelly Roll and Shabuzi coming out. I know you're a big Jelly Roll guy.
I don't really get this bit. Like 95% of people don't like. He's not like some. I don't get like what the bit is here that I don't like Jelly Roll. He's a replacement level country singer that got famous for his looks. Like,
I mean, the fact that you refer to Jelly Roll as a replacement level country music singer while wondering,
that's frankly generous. He's not very good.
while suggesting I'm manufacturing the fact.
Are you going to cite like Billboard stuff that doesn't matter? He's awful. But if you enjoy it and you listen to this podcast, then awesome.
He was arrested more than 40 times. Going to get his record expunged, looks like. So I know you're excited about that too.
I mean, I'm more excited about that than any of his music. So
I don't get it either, Dan.
I love that Dan suggested I fabricated that he does not like Jelly Roll, and then commences to absolutely destroy Jelly Roll again.
I never said that you said that. This is silly.
So as we record this, guys, we're recording on a Thursday. First round of the NFL draft is tonight. We've talked extensively about some of the top guys and where they'll come off the board. And then obviously this will come out tomorrow, Friday, which will be the second day of the NFL draft. Dan, I know you got a list up on PennLive.com, right? Real quick, I don't think we need to go totally in depth about it, but we should have some guys already from Pennsylvania off the board by the time this podcast comes out tomorrow. And you want to tell us a little bit about the list you put together?
We've kind of talked about it a little ad nauseum. That Abdul Carter is obviously the big one, the former LaSalle star who basically kind of filled that Micah Parsons role at Penn State, and is going to probably, based on if everything goes the way everyone thinks it will, he'll be a New York Giant by around 8:39 tonight. But it's not the most loaded draft with PA talent that we've seen in recent memory, but we do have two quarterbacks in Kyle McCord, Will Howard. Got a couple tight ends, CJ Dupree, former Lakeland star, that played at Maryland and Alabama. You got Gavin Bartholomew from Pitt. A couple of Pitt guys, Brandon George, Donovan Millen, and Harrisburg's Dante Kent has been getting some buzz. NFL.com has him as a projected 7th round UDFA guy, which is pretty good for being at a Central Michigan school. You got guys like Tyshim Johnson from Newman Goretti at Oregon, and even guys like Dante Cephas, who our photo editor Joe Herman knows very well because I believe he kind of stabbed him in the leg, not directly, but Joe doesn't have very fond memories of Dante Cephas, but he might find his way in the back end of the draft. And then Jelani Stafford, who is then obviously Dante Cephas, and then Jelani Stafford, former Cal area defensive tackle who ran for 6 touchdowns this year as well at UConn. So there are some guys that I feel like day 3 is going to be the big day for a lot of these PA kids. Maybe Kyle McCord sneaks into day 2. Maybe Will Howard sneaks into day 2. I'm not so sure based on the way that people are talking about this quarterback class. Doesn't seem like there's a chance Shedeur Sanders might not even make it to. Might have to wait till day 2. So, but PA guys always seem to be pretty reliable in the NFL. So I imagine a lot of these guys are going to find homes.
Yeah, I was going to say, Epler, I was telling Dan that Jelani Stafford was actually one of my favorite guys I used to watch on film when he played running back at California, because he was like a 260-pound high school running back.
He's 300 now, and
playing at California here in PA, and he was just bullying guys. he's a good athlete. But Epler, I was going to say too, you saw Dante Kemp play in high school. We both know he's an explosive guy. I watched him multiple times at Central Michigan. He's still got that explosiveness, the versatility where he can play corner, but he can also return punts and stuff. I think he's the type of guy, and we also know this. Look, Ronald Kemp, his older brother, he probably has 3 inches. He's listed at like 5'10", Dante is. He probably has 3 inches on Ronald. And Ronald, ran really well. He's a burner. Tried to make it to the NFL last year. Didn't get there, but he went to the CFL and had a heck of a year. The Kent guys are gamers. The Kent guys are great kids. I know their mom, Kat Kent. She's a cancer survivor too. Fantastic family. I think Dante Kent's the type of guy you could bring in 7th round undrafted, and he's going to make it. I think he can make a team.
I actually thought when he was in high school, like most really good athletes, you're playing multiple positions, and a guy like Kent, they lined up in like 4 different spots. I think he even took a couple snaps under center in some key situations. But I thought Dante would be an unbelievable slot receiver. I thought because of that size, it was you don't see guys really under 6 foot, playing wide out in the next level. But I thought he could have been a dynamic guy, and because he was always good on special teams, punt returns, kick returns, things like that. He was always a big play guy. Ronald was the same way. So I thought maybe, but obviously he went to Central Michigan, had a really good career as a cornerback, and he's got I don't know if you've seen him recently. I haven't seen him in maybe a year or two. But he's got one of those types of frames too that can hold up, at the next level. He is a strong beast and fast, and he's got really good instincts on the football field. And, I think too, not for nothing, but when you see these guys who might be considered maybe possible late round guys, they all play with a chip on their shoulders, and Dante's one of those guys. He's only going to get every opportunity he gets, he's going to maximize it. So I think you're right. I think he could be a really good guy to bring in, and a good locker room guy too. So I hope he does catch on. I mean, it would be a good way to, kind of celebrate what he's done so far if he would get drafted in the late rounds. You mentioned Cephas earlier. I thought the same thing about Cephas, but on the other side, because he was an unbelievable defensive back at Penn Hills, and wide out too, obviously, who made some huge plays, one, in the Big 33 game that most people saw. And for Penn Hills too, had an unbelievable game in that championship game for them. So yeah, I would like to see him. I don't know where Cephas is sort of located on the big board. I think he's probably off the big board.
Yeah.
But he could maybe get a shot.
I feel like he's a good enough athlete that he might he'll definitely get a camp spot, but you never know. The end of the draft too is oftentimes, a lot of times these teams it's more just like scooping up guys that they don't want to fight for in UDFA. Like,
And he's really had a staggered career too. I know it's, everybody moves year to year now with the portal being wide open, but when you start at Kent State, you go through Penn State, and then you ended up at K-State. So, that may hinder him too. I don't know how different organizations look at things like that. I'm sure it doesn't matter if you're considered top 3 or 4 rounds. I'm sure it doesn't matter, but yeah, I hope he gets a shot too, because he is a hell of an athlete.
yeah, I mean, I do think Brandon George is from Berks Catholic is going to have a real shot to get drafted too, because he tested really well at Pitt's Pro Day. Obviously,
That's that guy.
he's a District 3 guy. He played at Pitt for 6 years, which is that's the COVID year doing its magic. But
Yeah.
I know he had a top 30 visit with the Chiefs, which doesn't mean you go in the top 30. It's basically just what it's called. But I think he generated some interest on the pro day, so he's another guy that I think is from PA that could hear his name called as well.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. We mentioned this name on here a couple times. Fatorma Mulba, the former Susquehanna Township High School defensive tackle who signed with Penn State, played 2 years there. went to West Virginia. I actually got him on the phone the other night, and I know Epler remembers him. I mean, first of all, it's funny. I was reading a story I wrote about him before he went off to Penn State. Like 16 months before Fatoma Mulba went to Penn State, he didn't even know how to get in a three-point stance. And like 2 years before that, he'd never even seen snow. He's from Liberia. His whole family is actually his younger brother. You PA High School Football Report fans out there is Samuel Mulba, defensive tackle over at Trinity, who is getting, I would guess he probably has 5, 6, 7 offers right now and getting some interest. And then he said he has a younger brother, Travis, who is a sprinter in the 2030 class in the Cumberland Valley School District. So he says it's going to be better than all of them. But talked to Fatoma. Fatoma had a really nice senior year. Dan pointed out he was an 88 overall on the EA Sports college football game, which doesn't necessarily get you drafted, but it's kind of a neat little factoid to throw in there. It's a pretty good rating. But, and I talked to Joe Heaton yesterday about him too, and he said, look, the kid is the American dream. His dad was a truck driver. He got a degree before he left Penn State that quickly, and something business information, systems or something. And then he got a master's degree while he was at West Virginia. He's totally focused on football, and he believes he will get a chance. I think he will too, because he's big, he's strong. He's still pretty raw, all things considered. But look, his dad drove a truck, and this kid says he's not going to drive a truck. He's going to own a trucking business. So really, it's kind of the American dream type story. Great kid. I'll have that up on PennLive in the morning. I think it's going to be a good read because it kind of brings back full circle of a kid who came here, 2 years before he ended up at Penn State, who didn't even know what football was. And oh, by the way, I wrote this and it still stands true. When I say he's a big, strong guy, Epler, if you've seen Fatoma actually looks built like what I would say a heavyweight boxing champion does. And I'm not talking George Foreman. I mean, he looks like he's chiseled out of granite.
That was the issue with Mulba really in high school. I mean, when he came in, he was strong as an ox. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, the trunk on this guy is unbelievable. And that was the problem. Like he could outmuscle guys, but he would stand up at the line of scrimmage, instead of driving forward. And it was like you had to really kind of teach that into him. It took him a couple years to kind of get that down. And by the time he got to senior years and obviously committed to Penn State prior to that, because of his measurables. I mean, I don't know what he is now. I'm just taking a guess, but it's probably what, 6'4", 310?
He's 6'3", still in like the 325-ish range or something.
So yeah, I mean, and he was that size in high school. I mean, he was just a beast, and he was, like I said, he's strong as an ox. And if you put him there in the middle of the defensive line, you typically it's going to be hard to move a guy like that. And at the next level, since we learned from Jordan Hill, playing that position, you've got to be 325, minimum to play that position now. You just have to. I mean, Jordan Hill could never get over 300 pounds. And next thing you know, to beat guys, these massive offensive linemen, you're snapping bicep muscles.
Well, you either got to be that or you got to be Aaron Donald. Or you have to be Aaron Donald.
Or you have to be Aaron Donald. Right. Exactly. So it's just, it's one of those things where you have to have that body, and Mulba has that. He really does. And I was glad to see him because I didn't really understand the exit from Penn State because they were, from what our guys, our guys Flounders and Jonesy were writing about him, that, he had a real possibility moving into his junior year to kind of break that, and become a starter. And then next thing you know, he was, he transferred out. So, but again, it's he had a hell of a year, and I'm wishing him the best because he you're right. The story he has is unbelievable.
Well, this will tell you about his character. Even after he announced that he was going to enter the transfer portal, I think he's one of the rare cases where they let him continue on with the team.
Yeah.
I know Franklin and really loved him. And he told me last night, look, he said, we talked about that. He said, look, Penn State had a loaded defensive line room. And, he worked very hard and he went up there as raw as he did. He said, I didn't realize, in college, you just couldn't grab guys and throw them around like high school. And so he learned that, and he actually got on the field, some, and then he, obviously just, he said, look, he just wanted to get somewhere, I guess, where he could play. and he got there, got to West Virginia, and like I said, he'd gotten a degree before he left Penn State, got his master's at West Virginia. Truly a genuine guy. I don't think you're going to have any character concerns out of him, and I think he'll work hard to try to make a team, and he has the physical makeup to be a guy that could grind out and make the team in the middle. So be interesting to see here where he ends up. But we talked a lot about the draft and stuff. It'll be fun. I always watch the draft sort of from start to finish, and so I'm excited about it. We got any other draft thoughts or news real quick going in?
Dad, is Fleming not a possibility?
I don't think his testing was really. I probably could have included him on that list.
I was just curious. I didn't mean to point out, oh, you don't have him on the list. I just was curious your thoughts about him. I think we're both on the same page with him, but I just
my read is that it just feels like there's too much wear and tear, that he's not the same. You guys both watched him in high school. I don't think I ever covered him in high school. I've only basically have mostly seen him this past year watching Penn State, and it doesn't feel like it's the same guy that was the number one recruit in the country.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. And a lot of people try to beat him up, Epler, and say he was overrated and stuff. I still say he was not overrated in high school. Yeah, Southern Columbia plays at a lower level, but they had some dogs on that team, Cal Halliday and guys like that too. Fleming was and I covered some NFL receivers. He was a really good, sort of all-around good receiver in high school. I think he had 3 shoulder surgeries at Ohio State. He ran a 4.72. There was some talk about him maybe trying to play tight end. Look, I said this, I think, on a previous podcast. I would have told you coming out, and I've seen a ton of NFL guys, I would have told you he had a real chance to make the NFL. Guess what? Deion Sanders said that after he went to the Under Armour All-American game that year. He said, this kid's going to play in the NFL. But sometimes, and this is a good lesson for all you kids out there to listen, football happens. And what I mean by that is you go in there, you get beat up, and your body gets beat up, and you just can't move the same way. You can't do the things the same way. I hope Julian Fleming still gets a chance because, look, I've talked to him on the phone 100 times probably in his high school career. He always picked up for me and was a good kid, and he worked with us well. I hate to see him get beat up and people kind of talk crap about him because, I don't know that this is necessarily.
That's just the way people are, right? It's like,
yeah, exactly.
If anyone ever says you're good at something and then you don't live up to the exact billing that someone else ascribes to you, then we're never good at all and could never do anything. And it's silly. It's not fair, but
he was a good player in high school, and football happened, and
it seems like he's been a good teammate too everywhere he's been.
Yeah, so I hope he finds what works for him, and whatever makes him happy. If he wants opportunity, I hope he gets it. And if football is not in his future, then I hope he finds success elsewhere. Because again, I don't think this is of his own doing. I don't think this is him slacking off. Like I said, he might have 3 surgeries, and that's the number I heard on his shoulder, and kept coming back. That's a tough guy. He wants to play football. So we'll see there. All right, guys. So we've been talking NFL draft here, and we got a really special guest coming on, a guy who's worked with Abdul, the Penn State star, and who's expected to go off the board pretty early, Micah Parsons. We talked about him a lot on this podcast. Former CD East head coach and current Susquehanna Township athletic director and trainer to the Stars. They call him the Guru, Lance Deane. All right, guys, we got this week our very special guest, Susquehanna Township athletic director and the Guru. I think Lance is what we're now calling you for training. Lance Deane is here. Lance, what part of the world are you in, my man? I feel like you're everywhere these days.
Yeah, I'm actually back home, so I'm back in Pennsylvania now.
All right, good deal. Last week you were in Texas, right?
Yeah, I was in Texas for a little bit and just got back recently here.
So who you were working with some Cowboys like Micah Parsons and those guys? Who all were you working with last week?
Yeah, I got an opportunity to work with a few different players, mainly defensive linemen this time, but Micah gathered a few guys up, and we spent a day together and got some work in. So it was pretty neat to see that for sure.
I know you like to work a lot on agility, change of direction and stuff. You working with a stable of guys like that. There's some, if you guys don't know, you can go out and look on X and stuff. There's some video out there, Lance, working with these guys. What's it like working with a group of guys like that, man? I know you work with good athletes, but that looked impressive.
It's definitely a neat experience, obviously. The good thing with that is, like, especially with somebody like Micah, just puts him in position to just kind of continue to grow as a leader. Because we're doing the things that we already do and we've been doing for a while. Now we're just doing it in a group setting where, he's just trying to, work with other players and help get those guys better as he also gets better. So it's definitely gives you that just genuine team bonding opportunity while working on your craft.
Obviously, big year for Micah. He's been in the news. I've really been fascinated watching him grow as a football player. I've always said I feel like he's going to end up being like Michael Strahan, Lance, when he gets done as far as his media career as well. But you've been working with that guy since before he got in the league. This summer, working with him some. How's he looking? Obviously, he's planning on a big year and he's got a lot going on. But how's that guy looking right now, and how does he compare to past Micah Parsons that you work with?
He looks good, man. I feel like I said this a lot, which is a testament to his dedication in the offseason. But I think this is the best offseason he's had so far. And that's not to say he hasn't put other good off seasons together, because he has. But I just think he's locked in on a different level right now, with the things that he's eating, sleep, just the overall, just taking care of his body. So I'm impressed with just his overall level of commitment. Like I said, he's done that same thing before, but he just find ways to turn it up a notch.
Lance, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you too. How different is the steps you put these guys through, than what they're typically used to, or maybe some of the things that they do on their own? How different is it?
I would say it's pretty different. I think the end goal is the same, but I try to find ways to be creative to make them over exaggerate movements, so that they can work on the little things and fine tuning the detail. So the end goal and what we're trying to accomplish and some of the techniques are similar, but we kind of over exaggerate those things a little bit more to kind of fine tune the details and the small things that make a big difference.
Now, I'm guessing, obviously you dictate what the paces you're gonna put them through. But is there ever any kind of, I don't want to say backlash, that's not the right word, but sort of, do you have to okay what you're going to do with these guys in the off season?
No, but there's definitely conversation and dialogue where we walk in and especially if there's guys I'm not as familiar with, and it's like, hey, what do you want to work on, or what do you feel like you need to improve on? So there's definitely a sense of open dialogue and feedback. But the same time, I don't necessarily, like, I go in there with my game plan, and they'll tell you, like, they're held to the same standard if I was working with middle school or high school kids. So they're professionals. But I've been blessed enough to work with guys that are extremely coachable, and aren't full of ego and feel as if they know it all. So it's a lot easier when you're dealing with guys like that.
So Lance, by the time this podcast is released, unless the craziest thing happens in NFL draft history happens, Abdul Carter will have been drafted. And obviously there's a lot of comparisons between him and Micah Parsons, right? The same school, same state they're from, same number they wear, similar frame. You've obviously worked with both of them. How do you kind of compare them both as players, as athletes, and then as people as well?
No, first and foremost, they're good human beings. They're neither one of them are full of egos. Anytime we're working, they're finding and they're wanting to find ways to get better. Um, you know, there's some people in this world of profession that, they just train to train and they already know it all. Those are guys that are seeking to want to be better. So I think that speaks volume to the type of people that they are. Um, and then ultimately, like, just seeing the way that they treat others outside of football. They're very, very caring, very humble, and they're willing to go the extra mile for their friends and others. So I think that once again speaks volume to, more importantly, the type of people they are. And then on the football field, they're freaks. They're unicorns. There's guys that, they're one-on-ones. And I say that in the sense of, like, you don't get too many guys like that. They're literally probably two of few people in this world that can play nearly all front seven positions up front at a high level. And that speaks a lot to their ability and their style and their things they've been blessed with.
Lance, I think the last time you and I talked about Abdul, you were just starting to work with him, and he was transitioning from linebacker to defensive end. When's the last time you worked with that guy?
I haven't worked with him until right before the season started, essentially. But then we'll get together here. Talked to him not too long ago, so we'll get together here right after the draft and get some more work in.
So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Epler, you asked him about like what he specializes in and stuff in training. But when I watch a lot of Lance's videos he puts out and just kind of watching the guys he has, the stuff like Micah Parsons is known for. And look, Micah had that anyway. Lance will tell you that, but the explosiveness, the change of direction for those big guys, Lance, I know, really kind of drills that down, and I feel like he's really excellent at getting those big guys where they can change direction really easily and do the kind of freak stuff that Micah does. I know Abdul, you know, I don't think he was quite as explosive as Micah, but I think he's improved a lot there too. Like from the time you started working with him to the last time you worked with him, what kind of changes did you see in that guy?
I just think he just got more comfortable with the position over time. You could see that he always had athletic ability, but just being able to apply that to the actual position itself, it takes time. And you could tell by the end of the summer, just the comfort that he had, and his ability to play with a good bend. I think that's what separates him a lot from a lot of other guys in this draft. He plays with such good bend and such good tempo, which is rare for a guy that's been playing that position for less than a year. A lot of times, guys are in such a rush and they only know one speed. But when you're an athlete and you know how to play at different tempos and different speeds, you know you're obviously in a good position and good control.
Yeah, I know. Outside of those guys, you've been working with a lot of talented athletes back here. I mean, who are some of the guys you've been working with here?
Rico Scott, who had a pretty good spring up Alabama. I'm excited to kind of see how things, turn out for him. Not necessarily here, but just Katron Allen, who's going to probably have a great year up at Penn State. Had the opportunity to work out with him. Locally, Messiah Mickens, just won Gatorade Player of the Year. And the list can go on and on. So I think I definitely have a good group, both locally and then, up Penn State, good group up there. KJ Winston, who's also going to get drafted here, probably would have been a first round pick if he didn't tear his ACL in the first game. He'll be picked in the first 3 rounds for sure. I had the opportunity to work with him a bit. He's a great pick as well. Some other guys as well. So, definitely a good group for sure.
Hey, let's talk about Messiah real quick because I think he's very interesting coming into this year. I'm a Messiah Mickens believer. I wrote about that kid, when he had an offer at Trinity before, he ever played a varsity down. I felt like freshman, sophomore year, he was super explosive. I think he hurt his ankle. I felt like, he took him a minute to come back from that. Towards the second half of last year, I felt like you started seeing more of the Messiah Mickens that, you'd seen before. And I'm glad you brought him up because I've seen a lot of videos of him. Seems like he's working really hard for his senior year. I mean, what have you seen from him?
Yeah, man, he definitely works hard. And he's a great kid. He wants to be great, which, I think is becoming rare with kids nowadays. So he's chasing greatness, and I'm excited for him. I know just mentally and, just challenging him, some of the conversations we have had it lately is like, hey, like, you're going into your high school year of football, but reality is you want to be mentally trying to prepare to play as if this is your freshman year of college. And so steadily asking yourself, if I was up Penn State right now, would I be able to compete? And that's a question that you should want to answer. So, yes, enjoy your senior year, absolutely, but take it another step farther and get uncomfortable and challenge yourself to like, hey, am I prepared to play collegiate football right now? And that's a question you got to be able to answer within yourself. So I think, that's one of the things me and him have been talking about a little bit as of recent. And he's been responsive to that because he wants to be great.
The stable of guys that you've been working with, you mentioned Rico, Katron, Abdul Carter you've worked with. Micah, obviously, again, he's been in the headlines. He's working out some stuff with the Cowboys where a lot of people saying he could be the highest paid player in the history of the league on the defensive side. How exciting, how rewarding is it for you to work with these guys and then sit back and watch what they do? And like this week, tonight, Lance, a guy you've worked with is probably coming off the board pretty darn early, in Abdul Carter. That's got to be that's got to be fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a humbling, feeling for sure. I don't take enough time out to kind of process it like I probably should, because life be life in a little bit and things get to moving pretty fast overall. But when you look back on it and some of the things, you're able to just be a part of, and that's the way I look at it. Like, these guys are blessed. They're one percenters with or without me. But just being able to be a small percentage of, their team and watch their growth and be able to see it up close and see the work that they put in is definitely, a humbling experience for sure and feeling.
Lance, kind of shifting gears a little bit. I think this is our first time we've had you on since you've taken over at Hannah. Uh, that you won't be on the sidelines this year after doing a great job at CD East the last few years. But that Hannah football team still has some pretty good talent. Um, have you worked with any of those kids? Reached out to you asking to get training in, or are you just excited to kind of watch them as their athletic director? I mean, I just saw Torrin Evans just had a good baseball game the other day too, and then you have guys like Jarrett Kern back. It still seems like a pretty talented football team you guys have coming back for 2025.
No, for sure, it's definitely a talented group. I've had the opportunity to work with some of them. Some of my workouts that I have with some of the local high school kids, so I definitely got the opportunity to work with a few of them. I mean, more importantly, just kind of get to know them, and just offer any support that I can to the entire football program. But I'm definitely excited, just to sit back. Obviously, it'll be a little different this year, but sit back and just watch and watch the exciting year that they're expected to have, and I know they will have. So, it's definitely a talented group. And I'm looking forward to watching them put on a show.
And we also had your replacement at CD's, Tyshawn Pollard, on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. He gave you a lot of credit for helping him kind of get ready to take on this role, kind of being a role model as kind of a younger coach, being willing to kind of step up into that role. How excited are you for Tyshawn to kind of get that opportunity to lead that program, and what do you think he's going to be able to do there?
I'm super excited, man. Like, that made my day. When I heard that news, that's like a brother to me. So just watching it all pan out, I can't be more excited for him, and more importantly, I'm super excited for the kids there. They're getting a great coach, and they know that he's already built great relationships with those kids. So he doesn't need to come in and do anything new. He just needs to be himself, like he's all already has, man. So I know he's gonna do great things with that program. And no, me and him talk, and we continue to talk. Like, and I know he's going to come in and he's going to leave it better than he found it. So he's going to take, some of the things that we laid down as a foundation over the last few years, and he's going to up the ante with that. He's not going to look to kind of maintain that, to try to get over the hump and win some big games. I'm super excited for him. I know he and the rest of the staff, some of the staff that's decided to come back, and then obviously the few additions that he has, I know they're going to do great things for sure.
Lance, I know you got to cut and run here, go to a baseball game. Real quick, tell people how they can. Again, if you go on social media, you look at what he's doing, the people he's working with, and what they're doing. I think that's about says it all. We wrote a story last year on Lance. You can look it up. I think it's said something like Micah Parsons Guru. You can Google that, probably find it. But kind of talks about some of the stuff he's done and the fact that I think Micah sticks with you. He could choose anybody in the world, right, Lance, and he's still stuck with you. The results of
We're man, like, we're family. Like,
yeah,
when I'm down there, like, I'm with the family. Like, I spent Easter with them the last 2 years. Like, we're family, man. So, like, we're locked in. That's deeper than football. And once again, that loyalty, I think, speaks volume to just the type of person he is.
I agree. I've told people this, Lance. When I was sick, and we don't ask for anything as journalists. When I was sick and dying in Baltimore, the dude was tweeting out my GoFundMe, and I didn't ask him to. And I know he has a great family. His mom Sharice is wonderful and fantastic. Great sister there in Shatara. Great family. But what I was saying is, he could choose anybody in the world. He still chooses you. Like I said, you guys are family. But the results have spoken volumes for all the guys Lance has worked with. Lance, tell them how to find you if somebody's interested in getting some work in, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Lance Deane. I think, like, the title is Coach Lance Deane, but the actual @ is Lance Deane. Then Instagram as well is where I post a significant amount of, like, day-to-day work. That's probably where you'll find a lot more of the day-to-day work stuff is on Instagram, Lance717. And then probably in the next month here or so, the official website will be up and running. So that'll be another way to kind of contact me. But I'll make sure that stuff is tagged on to the social media accounts.
Yeah, let us know about that too, man. I think you guys work out somewhere over here by where I live because Bert lives around the corner from me. And he called me a couple months ago. He's like, dude, I just saw Micah Parsons and Lance Deane jogging through our neighborhood. I was like, okay, well, he said he talked to Micah or whatever. But look, man, you're doing great things. I'm glad I'm happy. We were happy to have you on. Good insight. I know it's going to be a fun weekend and next couple months for you too, man. So keep up the good work, Lance, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, guys, that was Lance Deane. I thought it was a pretty good interview. Thought it was pretty good insight. As you heard, he's working with a lot of really talented guys. I think Rico Scott, Dan and I think have been watching Rico Scott. He looks like he's poised to do some big things at Bama. Messiah Mickens, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state last year, Penn State commit. Katron Allen, who is at Penn State playing running back. A lot of good players. What did we take from that interview? What did we learn, guys?
Lance is obviously has a lot of trust with some of these guys that have proven, results, and I think that speaks it kind of speaks to it. I think that his client list is pretty darn good right now, and it's about to get even more decorated in a couple of weeks, in a couple days. So, yeah, big day. Well, I guess it will already have happened. Big day on Thursday, for another one of his guys.
Yeah, I just hope that when Lance has to jet set to Dallas, and I hope Micah's just picking up the tab for lunch. You know, like I would think somebody's probably going to sign $100 million plus contract soon.
I think Micah takes care of him, and Micah's got that. Micah has, an amazing house out in Texas. I've only seen glimpses of it through social and what he shared. But he has like a basketball court with the Dallas Cowboy stars on it. He is constantly, I think for like the second time in 3 years, Dan, soliciting on social media someone to come build him a new gaming room because he does a lot of gaming and Twitch stuff. So I think he's got a nice setup out there, and Lance's. I think he goes out there and stays with them, and then works with a lot of really good players. Like you can go back and look on social media, and it wasn't just Micah. There were some real studs he was working with. Like he said, 1%ers.
Yeah, I was just joking.
Yeah, I know you. I know you were.
Sure, I'm sure Micah takes care of him.
Man, you look at social media and people give Parsons such a hard time because like Micah's funny because Micah still has Micah loves a camera and Micah's come a long way with the media, but Micah still has kind of like that small town guy in him or whatever where like he'll buy, he won't buy the first class plane ticket. He'll sit the commercial and just and then he'll complain about somebody acting like an idiot or something, and they'll be like, you could fly on your own private jet, and he's like, are you crazy? I'm not spending all my money on that kind of stuff. So Micah, I think compared to a lot of these athletes is kind of thrifty up, so he kind of gets picked on a little bit on social media. So there would be people that would hear that and be like, oh my God, they would run with it. I'm not even joking. It's a great story, Lance, because again, Lance is only like what, 26, 27, maybe? Something like that. He's still a young guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can't be he's like a couple years older than Tyshawn Pollard, who I think is
27, 28, maybe. I don't know. I don't think he's hit 30 yet. And he is already an athletic director, coached CDEs for a couple of years, got some guys into school. He's doing this training thing. He's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of positive stuff. Fun to have him on here. Again, you can look him up here in the Harrisburg area, in the center of the state. If you want to work out with somebody and potentially end up working out next to NFL guy or future NFL guy, he's a good one to look up. We got several good trainers in this area, though. We'll say that. Several guys. But Lance right now, I think, has got it really rolling. So I think there's good opportunities around here. What else we got, guys? What did we cover this week? We covered Dan hates jelly roll. I just want to keep driving that one home.
Yeah, I do.
By the time we get to next week, Dan, are you going to be happy with where your New England Patriots went in the draft, or are you not?
I'm one of the few Patriots fans that are happy with who they're picking, because I think they're picking Will Campbell, and the people are. It's one of those things where it's the people are all complaining about his short arms, and I just say, well, I've watched enough of his tape, and I think he's a 6'6", 320-pound lineman that runs a 4.9 40 and played left tackle in the SEC for 4 years. So sounds good. Sounds good enough to me. I'd much rather. I'd be pretty happy with that.
I thought you wanted Travis Hunter there for a little bit.
Well, I did, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I anyone with a half functioning brain, I think, should want Travis Hunter. Like, that dude is as special a football player as there is.
Who are my Colts supposed to pick, Dan?
I saw some buzz about trading up for the Michigan tight end.
I heard they liked Tyler Warren too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Here we go, Eric.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Not a Tyler Warren believer, Dan Sostek. Pump the brakes on Dan Sostek. He not a fan of Tyler Warren. We've exhausted that one too.
I like the Michigan tight end better. So if the Colts draft him, you'll agree with me.
No.
All right.
Anthony Richardson's going to light it up this year. We're going to be great. You'll see.
Okay.
I think we got a podcast. Eric, tell them where to find you on social media.
I'm at 3Jacker on X.
Dan
_Sostek, and I think I'm almost entirely out of the my sickness is all gone. It's now just remnant cough left. So hopefully next time I won't have a nasally voice on the podcast.
And I'm at Sports by B Linder on X. Check us, and also our producer Megan's here. Megan, tell them where to find you.
Savvy Literate on any social media platform.
Megan's got all kind of stuff going on. Check us out at PennLive.com too. Like I said, Dan's got a list up of PA guys, maybe some of them we didn't talk about, or if you just want to see a little bit more info, that's up there. The Penn State guys have a lot of stuff on the Penn State guys who are looking to go in a draft and maybe after. We'll be doing Steelers stuff with Nick Farabaugh, Eagles stuff. And then, we also have Matt Connolly, some new sports training writer for us. He's going to be doing a lot of draft related stuff. So we'll have that. We'll probably have where some of these local guys like Fatoma Mubua and Dante can't go or end up, whether it's being drafted or getting an opportunity. All at PennLive.com. Folks, we appreciate you tuning in to the 6th ranked podcast in the nation, our 31st, our 16th, the same website that said we were like 6th in the nation, guys, for High School Football Report podcast, then ranked us like 38th in the state overall for a sports podcast, which didn't make me feel good at all about them and their credibility, obviously. But we got a podcast this week, and till next week, we'll talk to you then.